Hi, I'm Celeste and welcome to Find Your Purple. Today is day 19 of the 40 Days of Reflection. And I thought I'd share my reaction to number 16. In the BIOY app that I talk about periodically, it's the Bible in 1 year, we're covering the numbers. And this one just struck me. Again, it's my third time through the Old Testament, but maybe it's the listening and the commentaries that I'm registering the stories more and more, getting more engrossed in it, I guess. But today's message just makes me think that's so human. And I don't know if you've seen the TV show It's So Raven, and it kind of reminded me of that, but it's like, that is so human. And it's a situation where Korah and three of his buddies, I guess they're all Levites, and they decide to have a rebellion against Moses and Aaron. They feel that Moses and Aaron are getting all the credits, and their argument is that everybody's holy and that it shouldn't just be given to Moses and Aaron. And the thing that strikes me is, again, it's not been that long that they escaped from Egypt. They saw all the plagues, and even the last plague, where if you didn't have blood on your threshold that night, then your firstborn would be dead by morning. Through all of that, Moses was the voice of God, and yet Korah and his buddies just don't see why Moses thinks he's so cool. And if you recall, Moses didn't want to take on this job. He was called by God, he was anointed by God, and he ended up doing it. So Moses, when they approach Moses, God wants to strike them dead. He wants to strike them all dead. And so he has Moses and Aaron stand back, and Moses and Aaron fall on their face, and they basically beg God, don't kill everybody. It's for one man's basically folly, I guess. So Moses says, we'll come back the next morning and we'll have God tell us who is the anointed one. So sure enough, the next morning everybody shows up. They all have these incense burners and all of that. And Moses says to Korah and his group, he basically says, if you die naturally or nothing happens, then that's God's sign that I am not the one to be leading you. However, if something unusual happens, like perhaps the earth opens up and swallows you, then we'll know that we are the anointed ones. And sure enough, almost before it's said and done, the earth opens up. It swallows the four guys, their families, their possessions, their tents, everything, and then closes up again. But God's not done there. He goes ahead and I guess he sets fire to the other 250 leaders that were following Korah and his group. So God puts them all, kills them all, and you'd think that'd be the end of it. But no. Those Israelites are really stubborn. The next day, mind you, they're still grumbling, and they're still saying that would happen to Korah and his group and the followers, that they're complaining about God doing that, and how could he do that, and how could Moses make that happen. So God again wants to get them all. Moses and Aaron stop him, but the plague hits. And Moses tells Aaron, get the incense, get in the crowds, stop, pray for pardon. And so Aaron takes off and basically gets the incense burner, gets the fire, the sacred fire in it, heads to the middle of the crowd between the people that were dying and the people that were alive, and he does atonement for him. And the plague stops right there. 17,000 people died in that round. And it's just so crazy. And that's where God says, get all the staffs of the leader of each of the 12 tribes. Then the next morning we'll show you. So he tells Aaron, put yours in for the tribe of Levites, and they're all to put their names on it. So all 12 staffs get put aside, and then the next morning when they come, Aaron's has bloomed. It has almond blooms and almonds on it. So God was saying, this is should put an end to who is the leader. But all that being said, it's so human. I mean, here they were that close to the miracles and the power of God, and even seeing God's work and killing all these people that were rebelling, and yet they'd still start grumbling. And it just reminds me, back when my kids were little, we were in soccer, and the parents, they would start griping against the coach and griping that kids were getting more playing time. And it's like the game was wonderful, but man, when you got the parents involved, it really could get ugly. And it was, whether it's a school group, whether it's cheerleading parents, whether it's church groups, how many times have I heard churches break up and split off because of a falling out? We just have this human issue, and it really comes down to ego. Our egos, our arrogance just bubbles up. You're doing okay, but then they're doing better, and you resent it, and things happen. And I just thought Numbers 16 was a real good example of how egos got out of line and people just acted human. And I just think God must shake his head to think, how can we be that stupid? But it's human. He didn't make us perfect, and we have free will, and that free will gets us in trouble. And again, I think ego is throughout the Bible, and that's my big thing. In my first, second, and third reading, arrogance and ego tend to jump out at me because I just think it's easy for us to start looking at ourselves rather than keeping the focus on God. So that was just it for today. As always, grab your cup of tea, sit back, and let's start sharing. Until next time, bye-bye.